Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've completely changed my eyebrow routine recently, and I've been getting a lot of questions and compliments on them, what products I use and all that good stuff. So if you want to see my recent daily eyebrow routine, just keep on watching. So the new eyebrow products that I've been using recently are the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pomade in Taupe and Medium Brown. So first I like to take Taupe on an angle brush and just draw a defined line on the bottom of my eyebrow. And once I've gotten the good outline of the shape I want, then I just take the rest of the product that's on the brush and just buff it into the sparse areas of my eyebrow. Next I'm taking Medium Brown and making a second defined line on the bottom of my brow, except this line is starting pretty much where Taupe ended. And this is also the part where you can get creative with your eyebrow shape. You can either do what I'm doing, pull it further out for a more straight look, or you can pull the product down and it makes a more angular brow look. Once I have the general shape of my eyebrows done, I pretty much just take whatever product is left on the brush and just blend it into any sparse areas that need to be filled, and then make sure that it blends with Taupe nicely. Once I feel like my eyebrow has a good shape to it and it's nicely filled in, this next step is really optional, but it's really good for covering any mistakes that you may have. I know when I'm filling in my eyebrows, I tend to have one really good brow and the other one is it's like it has a mind of its own. So using this concealer trick is a nice way to kind of cover up any excess product that you may have. And the concealer I'm using is the Maybelline Fit Me in number 25 Medium. The color concealer that you use is also another personal preference that you just got to play with. I personally don't really like the look of a really bright brow bone highlight, so by using a darker concealer I get the nice carved and clean cut look that I want, but it blends in with my foundation nicely. And here's the final look of my recent eyebrow routine. I hope this was helpful to you guys, and if you're heading out at this part of the video, I'll see you next time. Hey guys, so for this next part is not too crazy or elaborate, but I thought was a pretty cool technique. Lately when I've been having my silver hair, sometimes I think once I've done my eyebrows they're a little too dark, so how I've been lightening them up a little bit is taking my Fit Me concealer. It's also the same concealer I use to carve out my eyebrows. I take that a little bit on a spoolie and then just brushing it and buffing it into my eyebrow hairs. And this is also a technique that you can kind of layer up. So if you want them just a little bit lighter, you can just hit it on the front, but if you want them all overall a lighter eyebrow, you can just apply it throughout the whole eyebrow. And what I really love about this technique is that you're using products that you already own, and it's a pretty great alternative if you can't afford a tinted brow gel. So if you're heading out at this part of the tutorial, I hope this was a helpful trick for you, and until then, I'll see you next time. So for the next part of this video, I'm doing the general base idea of how I fill in my eyebrows, except this time with a brow pencil. And these brow pencils are by Femme Couture in the colors blonde and dark brown. So when you're using a brow pencil, it doesn't really smudge or fade out like a brow pomade does. So pretty much the general technique that I used when I was using a brow pencil was pretty much a bunch of flicking motions, and that would kind of create hair-like strokes, so it wasn't an aggressive line on one particular spot. And with the blonde brow pencil, I just keep drawing little lines until I feel like the sparse areas on my brows are nicely filled in. Next, I take the dark brown pencil and just draw in the tail of my eyebrow. And earlier in the tutorial, I was mentioning how this is where you can experiment with different eyebrow shapes. You can either pull the product out to make a more straight brow like I did earlier, but this time I'm going to pull the product down, and then you can see that it makes a more angular, high arch brow shape. Once I'm happy with my eyebrow shape, I'm just going to make a few extra hairline strokes towards the blonde pencil, and this is just going to make the two products look blended in better. Once I am happy with the final shape of my eyebrows, I like to take a spoolie and just comb it through my eyebrow hairs and make sure that there's not too much product in one area. And this next part is completely optional, but if you really like that clean eyebrow look, you can just take a concealer or foundation and just carve out the bottom and the top of the tail of the eyebrow. And here's the final look on how I fill in my eyebrows with a brow pencil. I hope this was helpful to you guys, and if you're heading out at this part of the video, I'll see you next time. So this is the last technique I have for filling in my eyebrows, and it's using a brow powder. Except for this tutorial, I'm not using a brow powder. I'm actually using two eyeshadows from my Naked 2 palette, and the eyeshadows I'm using are Tease and Blackout. Using a brow powder or eyeshadow is probably the easiest technique that you could use for filling in your eyebrows. All you need is the product and then get an angle brush and just apply the product in any sparse areas that you may have. The only time I wouldn't recommend using a brow powder or eyeshadow is if you're really needing to correct the shape of your eyebrow. So like in my case, I always need to redraw the tail of my eyebrow because I don't have very much hair there. So even though I'm going to be using the darkest, blackest eyeshadow I own to fill in that area, it's still not pigmented enough to where you can see where my hair stops growing. But some of my past clients that I've had that naturally had really great shaped eyebrows, once you put on a full glam makeup, you know, if you're wearing false lashes, heavy contour, a bold lipstick, your eyebrows can kind of get outweighed by all that makeup. So by just applying some brow powder, it really makes a difference, especially in flash photography, because it can easily just fade your eyebrows away. So in the other two eyebrow filling in techniques, I was saying this next step was optional, but for me personally, or if you have darker hair and you're trying to reshape your eyebrows with powder, I probably say it is definitely recommended to take a concealer and carve out at least the bottom of your eyebrow. If you look at the front of my eyebrow, because there's more hair there, it makes a defined clean line. But if you go towards the end where I'm trying to redraw on my tail, it's definitely becoming more blurred and fade out, and it looks pretty obvious that I don't have any hair there. So by carving out your eyebrow on the bottom, it's going to help clean up the line and look a bit more defined. And here's the final look on how I fill in my eyebrows with a brow powder or eyeshadow. Hopefully there were some good tips and tricks for you, and if you're heading out at this part of the video, I'll see you next time. Alrighty, time for some fun, colorful, bright eyebrows. And if you've been around my channel, this is the same technique that I use for all of my Little Pony videos. And what I'm doing first is pretty much taking my NYX Jumbo Eyeliner Pencil in Milk, and I'm just applying this onto where my eyebrow hairs are and just using that as a primer for the eyeshadow, whatever color I'm going to be using. So because I have really dark eyebrows, I want to kind of cake on this eyeliner and make sure that each eyebrow hair is going to be covered, because if it doesn't, it's not going to really hang on to that eyeshadow color very well. So once I've applied an even coat of the eyeliner, I like to take a spoolie and just really buff that into the eyebrow hairs and onto my skin. If your eyebrow hairs are lighter or thinner, you probably can skip this step, but it doesn't hurt to do it anyways. Once I've really buffed that eyeliner into my hair and into my skin, I like to take the eyeliner pencil again, just make a second even coat, and then make whatever shape I want my eyebrows to be. Now that my eyebrows are nicely primed and shaped, they're ready for eyeshadow. And for this tutorial, I'm using Poison Plum Pressed Eyeshadow by Sugarpill. But really, you can use any kind of eyeshadow you want. You can use mattes, you can use shimmers, you can even use glitters. So just have fun at this point and get creative. To get the best pigmentation on your eyebrows, I definitely would suggest to press the eyeshadow onto your eyebrows instead of using a sweeping motion. I know it's kind of a tedious technique. It does take a little bit of time to actually evenly and nicely cover the white eyeliner with the eyeshadow, but in the end, I think it looks really awesome and really bright and colorful. If you get really annoyed by a lot of fallout eyeshadow, it's probably better to do this application before you put on your base makeup. As you can see, like, I'm going ham with this eyeshadow and I'm getting fallout all over the place, under my eyebrow and even on my cheek. So like I said, play with different eyeshadow colors and textures. For funsies, I got Sugarpill's Pigment in Hysteria, and I just applied that on the front of my eyebrows and kind of feathered it out towards the middle. And this eyeshadow is glittery, it's kind of metallic-y, and it just adds some dimension to the eyebrow. So looking at my eyebrow, you can kind of tell that some of the color has faded out when I was trying to put the purple eyeshadow on. Kind of has like a pink stain on the outside. So to clean that up, just like any other technique, I just took a concealer and I'm just carving out the bottom and the top of my eyebrows. Whether you're using this technique to cosplay a certain character or just for makeup fun, I hope this tip was very helpful for you, and until then, I'll see you next time. Hey guys, so this is the 6th part of this lengthy tutorial, and that is how I cover my eyebrows for some of my character videos. So to catch you guys up real quick, before I started putting the glue stick on my eyebrow, I started with my Cover FX mattifying primer, and I just really rubbed that into my skin and also on my eyebrow and eyelid. For me, putting the primer on the eyebrows makes a really nice smooth surface for the glue stick just to glide on real easily. When I first started to practice covering my eyebrows, I was probably doing what you're doing, watching YouTube tutorials and trying to figure it out what the heck you're doing. And a lot of the tutorials I was watching, they wouldn't do like any primers or anything like that. It was just straight glue on face. And I did that. I could never get a nice smooth surface. It was always real rough. It was always chunky in some areas, and it was never a smooth application. So I've had comments before that you guys have said that you're trying this, but you weren't getting a smooth application either. So try getting a silicone based primer and put that on top of your eyebrows and then do the glue stick on top of it. This next step can really just vary on your eyebrow hair and your hair texture. If you have thin wispy hairs and that one layer and that powder just covered everything and you're good to go with foundation and concealer, awesome. But me personally, my eyebrow hairs are pretty thick, and even with that one layer, if I was just to put on concealer and foundation, you would still be able to see where my eyebrows are. So for this next step, I'm taking a metal spatula. It came with one of my makeup palettes, and I'll have a link below if you'd like to purchase it. And pretty much I just get a chunk of the glue stick and just wipe it across my eyebrows and just really try to smooth it out. It does work better if the glue is kind of warm. Your body heat will naturally kind of warm the glue so it gets a bit smooth and pasty like, but you can probably get like a hair dryer if you want the glue to kind of melt a little bit quicker. Won't lie, this is probably the hardest part when it comes to covering your eyebrows, is making sure the texture is all nice and smooth, because once you put all the makeup on top of it, it gets pretty obvious if the surface wasn't smooth. So as long as you have a spatula like I'm using here, I've seen people use popsicle sticks, I've used a butter knife in the past, so as long as you have a smooth surface to spackle on that glue, you're pretty good to go. But if you didn't get it down your first try, just keep practicing. It is really hard, I won't lie. It took me several tries to get this technique down, so just keep practicing and I promise you will get better at it. Don't get discouraged if you mess up the first few times. I know I did, and I'm even pushing the limits right now. I'm actually going to try to do a 3rd layer of glue, which for most of my tutorials, or all of them, I only do 2 layers. I don't really feel like I need a 3rd layer, but if your eyebrow hairs are really thick, you will need a 3rd layer. Another tip to kind of make this a little easier on yourself, having a fresher glue stick will make the application so much easier. When I was filming my YouTube video, I was having a hard time trying to get my freaking eyebrows to cover without them looking like the Appalachian Mountains. And come to figure, it was because my glue stick was slightly dry. So if you do have an older glue stick and that's all you got on you, just cut off the top of the glue stick and it should be good as new. So if you saw what happened there, I pretty much wiped way too hard when I was trying to glide the glue across my eyebrows, and that's what you don't want to do, because if you put too much pressure on, it'll just wipe off all those layers of glue that you worked so hard on. But luckily I kind of recovered what I did by just getting more glue on my spatula and just softly gliding that across my eyebrow. I don't really recommend this, but if you're brave enough, if you have a little bit of primer still on your finger, you can softly wipe across your eyebrow and help smooth out that texture. If you are doing multiple layers of glue, make sure that your glue is either completely dry, or if you're a little impatient like me, you can just slap some powder on top of it. So once you feel like you have enough coverage with layers of glue and powder, you pretty much just move on to your concealer and foundation routine. So I usually only use this concealer for underneath my eyes and for carving out my eyebrows. I was thinking maybe the orangish tones would counter the bluish tones from my eyebrows, but I don't really think it did a good job. But later on, I will show you my favorite concealer for covering the color of my eyebrow. Next, I'm taking my Revlon Color Stay Oily Combination Foundation in the color Buff, and I'm just applying that around my eye, and I'm going to blend that out with my Beauty Blender sponge. This actually looks covered pretty well, but just to show you guys, the normal concealer I really like to use to cover the color of my eyebrows is the Physicians Formula Concealer in the color Light. So this concealer is pretty thick, it has a lot of coverage on it, so it's great for hiding the blue undertones from my eyebrows. So once you are done blending everything out, just set it all with powder and you're pretty much done. If you stick around for the end of the video, I'll be talking about different products and techniques that I like to use to redraw my eyebrows on top of this. But if you're heading out at this point, thank you so much for watching, and until then, I'll see you next time. So here's the real final part of this long tutorial, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this, but since we're on the subject about eyebrows, I thought I might as well throw this in as some little bonus tip thing. So once you have your eyebrows covered, you do have to be a little careful with what and how you put a product on your eyebrow. If you only have one layer of glue on, it's not really a big deal, but if you're rocking 2 or 3 or more, you do need to be a little careful with how you're going to draw back on your eyebrows. In my earlier tutorials, I used to use eyeshadow and just be really careful and pat it on where I need it to go, but if you look closely, you can still see that I am wiping some of the glue off. So something that would be better than eyeshadow, I definitely would recommend a liquid eyeliner or cream eyeshadow, or even like for this eyebrow example that I'm drawing, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Pomade in Taupe. If you're looking for a specific color, you can easily just make your own liquid eyeliner. For my Maya video, I wanted a specific brown for her eyebrows, so I took the brown eyeshadow that I had and got e.l.f.'s Makeup Lock and Seal drops and just made a little concoction mixing the two together, and it made my own liquid eyeliner. I hope these tips and tricks were helpful to you, and if you stuck it through this whole video, you are amazing and it really means the world to me. So that concludes everything, and if you have any questions, comments, or any other tips that you may need, leave a comment below. I'll also have a description of all the products I used in this video, and until then, I'll see you next time.